Let's start with a question. When you say you feel something in your gut, what do you really mean? Most people think of that as instinct or intuition. But here's the fascinating truth. Your gut isn't just a metaphor for your emotions. It's a literal command center, one that communicates with your brain in real time. And in many ways, it's more powerful than we ever imagined. Inside your digestive tract is a vast network of neurons, over 100 million to be exact. That's more neurons than in your spinal cord. Scientists now call this the enteric nervous system, but more commonly it's known as the second brain. And this second brain doesn't just manage digestion, it produces and regulates many of the same neurotransmitters as the brain in your head. We're talking about serotonin, dopamine, GABA, chemicals that control mood, sleep, memory, and yes, anxiety. In fact, nearly 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut, not the brain. That changes how we approach emotional wellness. It means your gut isn't just processing food, it's processing emotion. It's influencing your thoughts, your energy, your sleep patterns, even how resilient you feel under stress. So if your gut is inflamed, imbalanced, or overloaded with the wrong kinds of bacteria, your mind isn't just foggy, it's suffering. We've been trained to separate mental health from physical health. But that separation is a false one. You can't fix the mind if the body's foundation is broken. That's why people who experience gut issues, bloating, indigestion, food sensitivities, often also report fatigue, irritability, mood swings, or brain fog. It's not psychosomatic. It's a two-way street. This gut-brain connection happens through something called the vagus nerve, a direct line of communication that travels between your enteric nervous system and your central nervous system. When the gut is thriving, rich with diverse, healthy bacteria and strong in its lining, it sends signals of safety, balance, and clarity to the brain. But when the gut is inflamed, leaking, or infected with harmful bacteria, the message changes. Suddenly, the brain receives signals of distress, instability, and anxiety. You feel on edge, overwhelmed, or disconnected. And no pill can fully mute those signals when their origin is biological. That's why healing the gut naturally isn't just about digestion. It's about reclaiming emotional equilibrium. It's about giving the brain clean signals to respond to, not distorted ones caused by inflammation and imbalance. And the most profound part, you don't need a prescription to begin. You need awareness. You need habits that nourish instead of numb. When you choose whole, unprocessed foods rich in fiber, fermented compounds, and phytonutrients, you're not just feeding your body, you're feeding your neurotransmitters. You're encouraging serotonin to be made and released naturally without synthetic interference. When you eliminate sugar and additives, you reduce systemic inflammation, giving your vagus nerve the opportunity to send calm instead of chaos. And when you slow down, chew your food, breathe before meals, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode that so many of us have forgotten even exists. This is the real power of natural gut healing. It's not about restriction, it's about restoration. It's about remembering that your body was designed to be well if only we give it what it needs and remove what it doesn't. Think of the gut as your internal ecosystem. And like any ecosystem, it's sensitive to balance. Introduce the wrong species, too much sugar, stress, or antibiotics, and the diversity collapses. Support the right ones through probiotics, prebiotics, and mindful living, and it flourishes. That balance doesn't just improve digestion, it improves everything. There's a deep philosophy here too. Your gut is where the external world becomes part of you. What you eat literally becomes your cells. What you consume physically and emotionally is integrated into your biology. That's why healing the gut isn't just about food. It's about consciousness. It's about choosing what you allow in and having the wisdom to let go of what doesn't serve you. And here's something that might surprise you. The gut is also the source of your immune strength. Over 70% of your immune system is housed in your digestive tract. When you repair your gut, you're not only helping your brain, you're fortifying your body's defense system. You're building resilience from the inside out. So if you've been struggling with anxiety, fatigue, poor concentration, or low mood, don't just look to the mind for answers. Look lower, look inward. The gut isn't a passive tube. It's a master communicator, a healer, and a messenger. And when it's healthy, you're healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally. Because true healing starts with listening. And if you really listen, your gut has a lot to say. Trust it, heal it, and you'll be amazed at how naturally the rest begins to align when it comes to healing the gut. Most people start with adding something, more probiotics, more supplements, more superfoods. But the truth is, before you build, you must clear the debris. Imagine trying to plant seeds in a toxic, weed-filled garden. No matter how nutrient-rich those seeds are, they won't take root. The same goes for your gut. Healing begins not by addition, but by subtraction. The first step in restoring the microbiome, the rich ecosystem of bacteria that live in your digestive tract, is identifying and removing what's poisoning it. Because the modern lifestyle, for all its convenience, has introduced enemies into our bodies that the human gut never evolved to tolerate. Let's begin with sugar. Not just the obvious kind in desserts, but the hidden kind in sauces, dressings, processed snacks, and even so-called health bars. Sugar feeds the wrong types of bacteria. It creates an overgrowth of pathogens like Candida albicans, throws off microbial diversity, and leads to fermentation and gas both literally and emotionally. Because a gut fed on sugar is a gut inflamed, and an inflamed gut is an anxious mind. Then come artificial additives. Preservatives, dyes, emulsifiers, and synthetic flavor enhancers. These aren't just non-nutritive, they're active disruptors. Research shows that emulsifiers like polysorbate 80 and carboxymethylcellulose, commonly found in packaged foods, can erode the intestinal lining and increase gut permeability. That permeability, often referred to as leaky gut, allows food particles and toxins to escape into the bloodstream, triggering immune reactions and low-grade inflammation that affects the entire body, including the brain. Inflammation doesn't stay local, it travels. It signals to your nervous system that something is wrong, and in response, your brain becomes more reactive, more protective, more anxious. What you put in your mouth doesn't just change your waistline, it changes your thoughts. Now let's talk about antibiotics. These are powerful tools when truly necessary, but we've moved from using them sparingly to relying on them as quick fixes. And not just in medicine, they're in our food supply too. Conventionally raised livestock are often treated with antibiotics, which means when you eat non-organic meat or dairy, you may be consuming low levels of these drugs unknowingly. The problem? Antibiotics don't discriminate. They wipe out both harmful and beneficial bacteria, leaving your gut defenseless and depleted. It can take months, sometimes years, to recover. Processed foods in general, those with long shelf lives and short ingredient lists, are another major offender. They're designed for convenience, not biology. These foods are low in fiber, high in additives, and almost entirely devoid of the enzymes your gut depends on for healthy function. Eating them regularly doesn't just deprive the body, it disrupts it. Over time, your microbiome loses diversity, your digestion slows, and your immune system weakens. But what's perhaps most often overlooked is stress. Chronic, unrelenting psychological stress is toxic to the gut. It changes the composition of your microbiome. It tightens the muscles of your intestines, impairing motility and nutrient absorption. It increases stomach acid, or paradoxically reduces it, leading to symptoms like reflux, bloating, and indigestion. You cannot out-supplement chronic stress. You must address the root. So we need to ask an honest question. What are we putting into our bodies, and what is it costing us? Because healing the gut is not about perfection, it's about awareness. If you're putting the wrong things in, even the right remedies won't stick. You can drink all the kombucha and eat all the sauerkraut in the world, but if you're still consuming inflammatory, synthetic, stress-laden inputs, your gut won't heal. Be careful. This is where food becomes philosophy. It's not just about what fills your stomach, it's about what aligns with your biology, your rhythm, your vitality. Choosing to eliminate harmful foods isn't deprivation, it's liberation. You're not punishing yourself by giving up junk. You're reclaiming clarity, balance, and power. You're sending a message to your body, I care. And your body, always listening, always responding, begins to shift. Inflammation decreases, digestion improves, mood stabilizes, thought patterns soften. Because when you stop inflaming the gut, you stop inflaming the mind. It's not about being extreme, it's about being consistent. Start simple, read labels, eat fewer things that come in packages and more that come from the earth. Choose organic when you can, especially with meat and dairy. Drink clean water. Pause before you eat. And most importantly, learn to listen. Really listen to what your body feels after a meal. That feedback loop is more accurate than any health app. You don't need a pill to heal your gut. You need a commitment to remove what doesn't serve you so that your biology can return to what it was always meant to do, thrive. Because healing doesn't always start with what you add. Sometimes it starts with what you're finally willing to let go of. And in that release, the body remembers how to heal. Once we've cleared out the offenders, those daily invaders that disrupt our gut microbiome, we're left with the most powerful question in healing. What do we rebuild with? And the answer is simple, but not always easy. We rebuild with food, real food. Food that looks like it came from the earth, not a lab. Food that has a short shelf life, but a long history in human biology. Food is not just fuel, it's information. Every bite you take sends signals to your body telling it how to function, what hormones to release, which microbes to feed, and how much inflammation to create or calm. This is the hidden power of nutrition. It's not just about calories, it's about communication. And your gut listens closely. When you nourish the body with whole, healing foods, you aren't just supporting digestion, you're restoring the integrity of your gut lining, feeding beneficial bacteria and producing neurotransmitters that affect your mood, sleep, and immune response. This is where natural healing becomes biochemical precision. Let's start with fiber. Most people think of fiber as something that helps you stay regular, but that's only the surface. Fiber, especially soluble fiber from vegetables, fruits, seeds, and legumes, is the preferred food for your good gut bacteria. These bacteria ferment the fiber, producing short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which are anti-inflammatory healing compounds that nourish the colon and reinforce your gut lining. When your gut bacteria thrive, you thrive. Then there are fermented foods: yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, and even kombucha. These are nature's probiotics. Unlike capsules, which may or may not survive the journey through your digestive tract, fermented foods arrive alive and ready to go. They introduce diverse strains of beneficial microbes and create an environment that discourages the growth of harmful bacteria. Think of your gut like a garden. You've cleared the weeds by eliminating sugar, additives, and stress. Now it's time to plant seeds. And these fermented foods are the biodiversity your gut craves. They create balance, improve digestion, and even influence your cravings. Because yes, your microbes partly dictate what you want to eat. When you change them, you change what you desire. Bone broth is another ancient remedy now backed by modern science. It's rich in collagen, gelatin, and amino acids like glutamine, which help repair the gut lining and reduce inflammation. If your gut has been damaged by processed foods, chronic stress, or antibiotics, this is the kind of gentle nourishment that supports cellular repair at the foundational level. Healthy fats are just as important. Omega-3 fatty acids found in wild-caught salmon, flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts have been shown to reduce gut inflammation and support a healthy microbial balance. Extra virgin olive oil, avocados, and coconut oil all play a role in soothing the gut, feeding brain health, and stabilizing hormones that are often disrupted when digestion is off. And let's not forget herbs and spices. Turmeric, ginger, garlic, fennel, peppermint. These aren't just culinary afterthoughts. They're anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and deeply supportive to digestion. They've been used in Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine for centuries for a reason. They work. But even more important than any single food is the pattern of eating. Are you eating slowly, chewing thoroughly, and giving thanks for what's on your plate? Are your meals colorful, diverse, and seasonal? Are you feeding your body with rhythm and presence? Or are you just checking a box while staring at your phone? This is where food becomes a form of mindfulness. When you approach your meals with attention, your body shifts into parasympathetic mode, the state required for digestion, absorption, and healing. You can eat the most nutrient-rich meal in the world, but if you're eating it in a state of stress or distraction, your gut won't receive the message. And this leads us to a deeper truth. Food is emotional. We eat to celebrate, to comfort, to cope, to connect. Healing your gut naturally also means healing your relationship with food. It means choosing what serves your vitality, not your impulses. It means listening to your body, not marketing. And it means trusting that you already have what you need to heal, not in a bottle, but in a bowl. The beauty of this process is that it's not a diet, it's a return to what our bodies have always known, to what generations before us lived by: simple, unprocessed, nourishing food, eaten in connection with self and season. Your cells don't want trendy, they want true. So the next time you fill your plate, ask yourself not how many calories, but what message am I sending? Your gut hears that message loud and clear. And when the message is nourishment, the response is healing. Because every bite you take is either feeding disease or fueling repair. Choose the food that speaks the language your body was born to understand, and your gut will speak back in health. We've talked about what to remove, we've talked about what to add, but let's step back for a moment and ask a bigger question. When are you eating? How are you sleeping? What kind of rhythm is your body living in day to day? Because gut health isn't just about what you put in your body, it's about whether your body is in sync with the natural cycles it was designed to follow. Think of your gut like a biological clock. Inside your digestive tract are billions of bacteria, but also something more subtle: timing mechanisms. These organisms and your cells operate in concert with circadian rhythms, internal cycles that repeat every 24 hours. These rhythms affect how you digest, how you absorb nutrients, when your gut is more active, and when it needs rest. When your sleep is erratic, your hydration inconsistent, your eating window scattered, your gut doesn't just get confused, it gets inflamed. Because what the gut craves more than anything, maybe even more than fiber or probiotics, is predictability. Rhythm is what tells your digestive system when to release enzymes, when to produce bile, when to move food through the intestines, and when to clean up and repair at night. Let's talk about sleep. Most people think of sleep as something the brain needs, but your gut does too. Deep, uninterrupted sleep is when your body goes into repair mode. The gut lining, which is constantly regenerating, does the bulk of its healing during these quiet hours. And here's the kicker. If your sleep is short, fragmented, or pushed too late, your microbiome suffers. Studies show that sleep deprivation actually reduces microbial diversity, increases gut permeability, and raises inflammation markers in the blood, even after just a few nights of poor rest. And if your gut is compromised, it affects your sleep in return. This is a two-way street. An inflamed gut can lead to disrupted melatonin production, the hormone responsible for regulating your sleep-wake cycle. So if you're wondering why you can't fall asleep, or why you wake up groggy and heavy, it might not be your pillow, it might be your gut. Next, consider hydration. Water doesn't just quench thirst, it supports every single digestive function. From breaking down food to helping fiber do its job to flushing toxins out of the body, water is a non-negotiable. And yet, so many people live in a mild state of dehydration, mistaking thirst for hunger, sipping coffee instead of clean water, and wondering why digestion feels sluggish or bloated. And you're you're hydrated, your gut motility improves, meaning food moves through your system in a steady, balanced flow. When you're dehydrated, that system slows down. Waste lingers, toxins recirculate, your microbiome becomes unbalanced, and again, the whole body pays the price. Hydration, however, isn't just about drinking more. It's about when you drink. Drinking water first thing in the morning before food helps wake up the digestive tract and prime it for the day. Sipping water between meals rather than chugging it during helps protect digestive enzymes. Small details, big impact. And now we come to circadian eating, eating in alignment with your body's natural rhythms. Your gut has a biological day and night. During the day, it's primed to digest. During the night, it wants to rest and repair. But if you're eating late at night, grazing all day, or skipping meals, then binging later, you're throwing off that clock. One of the most powerful shifts you can make to support your gut naturally is to eat within a consistent window. Not extreme fasting, just regularity. Eat your first meal within a few hours of waking. Allow at least 3 hours between your last meal and bedtime. Give your gut a break at night. This pause allows something called the migrating motor complex, a kind of internal sweeping system to clean out debris, excess bacteria, and waste. If you never stop eating, this cleaning crew never gets to do its job. When you live in sync with your body's rhythm, your digestion flows with ease. Nutrients are absorbed, the gut lining stays intact, the nervous system relaxes. You don't just feel better, you think better, move better, sleep better. That's because your entire being, from hormones to heart rate, is designed to operate on a rhythm. The more aligned you are, the less friction you experience. This is not about being rigid or perfect. Life isn't always on a clock, but when you bring even a little more rhythm into your habits, consistent sleep, mindful hydration, balanced meal timing, you send a signal to your body that says, you are safe. You can heal now. And the body responds, not instantly, but steadily, like nature does, quietly, predictably, rhythmically. Because healing doesn't always come from what you take. Sometimes it comes from when you pause, how you rest, and the rhythm you restore. The body remembers, the gut listens. Give it rhythm and it will give you back your life. If there's one force that quietly destroys gut health more than sugar, more than processed food, and even more than antibiotics, it's stress. And the reason most people don't realize this is because stress is invisible. You can't hold it in your hand or see it under a microscope, but your body can feel it and your gut responds to it every single time. Stress is not just a mental or emotional event, it's biological. When you experience stress, whether it's a traffic jam, a deadline, or a lifetime of unresolved trauma, your body flips a switch. It enters fight or flight mode. Adrenaline surges, cortisol rises, blood is redirected away from digestion and toward your muscles. Your body isn't thinking about digesting your lunch, it's preparing to run or fight. Now here's the problem. That fight or flight response was designed to last a few minutes. Our ancestors would escape danger, then rest. But modern stress doesn't let up. It's chronic. It's low grade. It's always on. Emails, notifications, financial pressure, family tension, body image worries, even the pressure to be healthy can become a form of internal stress. So the gut, already sensitive, intelligent, and finely tuned, begins to deteriorate under that pressure. Chronic stress decreases stomach acid, which means food isn't properly broken down. It slows motility, causing constipation or bloating. It increases intestinal permeability, leading to that leaky gut state we talked about earlier. And it disrupts the delicate balance of your microbiome, allowing harmful bacteria to flourish while starving the good ones of what they need. And if that wasn't enough, stress also changes the way we eat. Have you noticed how we tend to crave sugar, carbs, and processed comfort foods when we're overwhelmed? That's not a lack of willpower. That's your brain trying to self-soothe. Stress alters dopamine and serotonin levels, pushing you toward behaviors that offer quick relief, even if they compromise your long-term health. But here's where the story gets more empowering, because the same mechanism that allows stress to damage the gut also gives us a way to reverse it. When you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, you tell your body, we're safe now, and your body listens. The gut relaxes, digestion resumes, inflammation cools, healing begins. There are many natural ways to activate this calming response. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing. Even just 3 to 5 minutes a day can shift your entire system out of fight or flight. Meditation isn't just a spiritual practice, it's a neurological reset. It lowers cortisol, increases immune function, and helps rebuild the protective lining of your gut. Yoga, nature walks, journaling, prayer, these are not luxuries, they're medicine. And often they're the missing ingredient in a healing journey that's become too focused on food and supplements alone. You see, the gut doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of a dynamic, emotional ecosystem. And if your internal environment is hostile, chaotic, or driven by fear, even healthy food won't fully absorb. Because your body doesn't just digest what's on your plate, it digests your state of being. Now let's go deeper. What does it mean to create emotional wellness for your gut? It means learning to feel instead of suppress. It means allowing space for rest, for silence, for stillness. It means saying no to relationships and commitments that leave you chronically depleted. It means recognizing that being busy all the time isn't a badge of honor. It's a recipe for burnout. And burnout always shows up in the body. Philosophically, this is where healing becomes more than physical. It becomes a return to self-respect. Because when you honor your need for rest, boundaries, stillness, you're telling your biology you matter. And the gut, that sensitive, intuitive second brain, responds with calm, clarity, and strength. So no, managing stress isn't just about feeling better mentally. It's about protecting the very core of your biological resilience. And it's never too late to begin. Start small. Breathe before your meals. Create a screen-free hour before bed. Step outside for 5 minutes of sun. Touch the earth. Laugh, cry, sing. Do what reminds you that you are alive. Not just surviving, but worthy of thriving. But because at the heart of gut healing is this profound truth. You cannot heal a body you are constantly fighting with. When you begin to live with more kindness, with more presence, with more emotional honesty, your biology shifts, your gut calms down, your brain clears up, your energy returns, and your health begins to regenerate naturally, deeply, and without the need for constant intervention. So give your gut what it's really been craving, not just better food, but a better emotional home to live in. Peace isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of healing. We often separate movement from healing as if exercise is only about burning calories or shaping the body. But that's a narrow view. Movement is far more intimate than that. It's not just a physical act, it's a physiological conversation, one that profoundly influences your gut, your nervous system, and your overall vitality. Think about this. Your digestive tract is a muscular tube. It relies on coordinated motion, what we call peristalsis, to move food through, to absorb nutrients, and to eliminate waste. Without movement, the gut stagnates. Without rhythm, it clogs. This is why gentle, regular physical activity isn't just helpful for digestion, it's essential. Now, we're not talking about high-intensity, high-pressure workouts here. That kind of stress-driven fitness can actually work against your gut, especially if you're already dealing with inflammation, fatigue, or hormonal imbalance. What your body often needs most during healing is gentle, rhythmic movement, the kind that signals safety, calm, and flow. Walking, for example, is one of the most underrated healing tools we have. A 20-minute walk after a meal can dramatically improve digestion, regulate blood sugar, and reduce bloating. It stimulates peristalsis, massages the internal organs through the natural sway of your core, and supports the lymphatic system in clearing toxins. And it does all of this without spiking cortisol or demanding more than your body is ready to give. Yoga offers another kind of wisdom to the gut. Twisting postures stimulate the intestines, while deep belly breathing massages the diaphragm and signals the parasympathetic nervous system to engage. This rest and digest state is where true absorption happens, not just of nutrients, but of life itself. Even stretching, when done slowly and mindfully, can release tension in the abdominal wall, lower back, and hips, areas where many of us unconsciously store stress. And as we've already discussed, stress is acidic to the gut. When you soften these spaces through movement, you create room physically and emotionally for healing to unfold. But the benefits of movement go deeper still. Regular physical activity actually changes the composition of your microbiome. Research shows that exercise increases microbial diversity and encourages the growth of bacteria associated with anti-inflammatory effects and improved metabolic health. In other words, moving your body doesn't just burn energy, it reshapes your internal ecosystem. And it doesn't take much. You don't need to train for a marathon or spend hours in a gym. In fact, doing too much too soon can backfire, especially if your body is already in a depleted state. Healing requires attunement. It means asking your body, what do you need today? And honoring the answer, even if it's slower than your ego would like. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself during any movement practice is, am I moving from love or from fear? From punishment or from presence? Your body knows the difference, and your gut responds accordingly. Let's also consider how movement affects your emotional landscape. Gentle exercise increases levels of serotonin and dopamine, neurotransmitters that affect not only mood, but also gut motility. That's the gut-brain axis in action. You move your body, your brain releases feel-good chemicals, and your digestive system responds with more ease, less tension, and greater resilience. It's all connected. You are not a machine with separate compartments. You are an ecosystem, and the more you treat yourself like one, the more fluid and natural your healing becomes. Now, for some, the idea of movement may be complicated. Maybe you've lived in a body that felt like a battlefield through illness, injury, or shame. And if that's you, let me say this clearly. Healing movement isn't about looking a certain way. It's about feeling, again, feeling alive, feeling safe, feeling grounded in your own skin. And sometimes that begins not with exercise, but simply with breath, with standing barefoot on the earth, with stretching your arms toward the sky, and remembering that this body is yours, and it wants to help you heal. As we bring this journey full circle, remember this: your gut doesn't heal in isolation. It heals when you live in harmony with your own biology. That means nourishing it with real food, protecting it from harm, calming it through emotional balance, aligning it with natural rhythms, and yes, moving it with compassion and consistency. Healing doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as going for a walk instead of taking a pill, as intentional as rolling your shoulders back, opening your chest, and letting breath move freely through you. As radical as listening to your body instead of overriding it. Because motion is not just medicine, it's memory, a return to your body's original design. And when you move with purpose and care, your gut responds, not just by working better, but by trusting you again.